The movie begins with a young woman named Maria Delgado and her boyfriend seeing the film Con Air. Suddenly a masked man breaks in and kills the boyfriend. Maria attempts to run away, but she is caught by another man and gets knocked out before being kidnapped. In Los Angeles, Nicolas Cage approached a filmmaker named David Gordon Green to read for a film part. The director prefers not to hear anything, but Nick begins to perform the dialogue aloud in public, and David is impressed. Nick was desperate for that role since his career was tanking, and he hadn't gotten a good part in a long time. He begins talking with a younger version of himself, Nikki, who warns him that he may be past his prime. Nick also has a troubled relationship with his ex-wife Olivia, and their daughter Addie, because of the fact that he always forces her to do what he wants and never considers her feelings. Nick visits a spa with his agent, Richard Fink, and expresses how much he needs that part. Richard informs Nick about a $1 million deal that requires him to attend a birthday party, but Nick is neither delighted nor intrigued. Richard informs Nick that he received a call from his business manager because he has $600,000 in debt after living at the Sunset Tower for over a year, but Nick assures that he will fix everything once he gets the role. Nick arrives at Olivia's for Addie's birthday party, where he gets a call from Richard informing him that someone else got the part. Nick is dejected and enraged. He gets drunk and takes over the party, where he humiliates Addie and Olivia by getting on the piano and ranting before singing a song he composed. Olivia drives him home, saying that she and Addie need him, but he needs to get himself together. Nick feels defeated and calls Richard to tell him he will take the birthday job and says he will quit acting once he finishes it. Nick flies to an island in Spain, where the two CIA agents named Vivian and Martin are expecting to encounter a local crime lord, but are shocked to see Nick. Despite Martin's concerns, Vivian approaches Nick like a fan and puts a tracker into his jacket. Nick is brought to the dock, where Javi Gutierrez waits for him with a boat. Nick ignores him and takes the call from Richard, unaware that he is Javi and the one who invited him to the party. Nick tries to get some information on him from Richard, whose assistant informs him that Javi wrote a screenplay for Nick, but Richard tells him to throw it in the trash. Nick gets worried that he might have to do some weird stuff. Upon reaching the estate, Nick tells him he will not do any weird stuff for Javi. It is when Javi introduces himself to Nick, and he gets shocked. Javi tells his assistant Gabriella about their meeting, and is disappointed that Nick didn't bring it up about the screenplay. It turns out that Javi wrote a movie and wants Nick to play the lead. Javi hopes that Nick will read the script. Javi attempts to talk to Nick about the script, but they are interrupted by Javi's cousin Lucas. When Gabriella asks him about his next project, Nick reveals he is retired, which shocks Javi. Gabriella wakes Nick up the following morning to make him join Javi on a trip to view the cliffs. While out there, Javi begins to mention something serious, but he actually acts out a scene from his script. Nick isn't willing to join him, but Javi instantly reminds him of why he got into acting and how good he is, so Nick agrees to play along, and they both jump over the cliff into the sea. After they get to shore, they begin to bond as Nick tells Javi about his family, citing his inability to connect with his daughter, and how he met Olivia when she was a makeup artist. When Nick asks about Javi, he reveals that he isn't married but loves a woman, and their circumstances got in the way of love. They talk about their favorite movies, and Javi mentions The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which surprises Nick as it is also his favorite movie. Javi then recommends Paddington 2. Nick initially refuses, but is astonished after watching the film, with both of them admitting it's a masterpiece. Javi later asks him if he hates the script, but Nick is unaware of it as his agent has not told him about it. Nick tells Javi to send it to him so he can read it. While Javi going to bed, Nick thanks him for giving him the best time he has had in a long time. Nick goes to a bar in town to read the script and has a brief conversation with his younger self. While leaving, Nick is forced into a vehicle by the agents headed by Vivian and Martin. Vivian informs Nick that Javi is an arms dealer and suspects him of kidnapping Maria as she's the daughter of Catalonia's president, who is against crime in the country. The kidnappers think this would persuade him to withdraw from the campaign for the upcoming election. They want Nick to get access to Javi's security cameras and to get the evidence that he kidnapped Maria. While Nick does not want to be a part of it, Vivian tries to convince him by reminding him that Maria is just like his daughter Addie and makes him consider what he would do if she were in that situation. Nick reluctantly agrees to go through with the plan. During Javi's birthday party, Nick is tasked to rig the security cameras. Nick walks into the server room, and a guard notices it. Nick rigs the cameras up and allows Vivian and Martin access. They warn Nick about the oncoming guard and recommend that he knock him out with the special toxin, which Nick mistakenly rubs on his forehead and begins to lose consciousness. Vivian and Martin direct Nick away from an approaching guard before directing him to return to the room with the antidote, but Nick seems to pass out before injecting himself. Vivian thinks quickly and says action, stimulating Nick's acting reflexes and pushing him to inject himself with the antidote. Nick comes to his senses and regrets betraying Javi. However, Vivian tells Nick they got another mission for him, as they suspect Javi is holding Maria in that compound, and they want his help to find her and ask him to stay a little longer. Nick returns to the party to find Javi giving a speech about his deteriorated relationship with his father and how he fixed their relationship using a TV show they liked. Nick announces that he likes Javi's script and wants to be part of the movie but wants to stay a little longer to work on the script, to which Javi happily agrees. The following morning, Vivian calls Nick to inform the possible location of Maria. While he goes to check it, he is spotted by Javi, who tells Nick they have to open their minds to infinite possibilities to make an exceptional script, and offers Nick LSD. They roam around the town hallucinating. They notice two men they believe are following them and run away terrified. When they return to the estate, Nick discovers a secret chamber and suspects that's where Maria is being held. Javi arrives a moment later, and Nick says he wants to know what's inside, even though Javi warns it could change how he feels about him. Javi takes him in, and Nick is surprised to see the room packed with artifacts from earlier Nick's movies, such as a chainsaw from the movie Mandy, the pearls from The Rock, the bunny from Con Air, and a statue of Nick from Face Off, with real guns. Nick was greatly impressed by the collection. He later reports to Vivian that he does not believe Javi is a kidnapper, but she advises him to stay close to him and attempt to integrate the kidnapping into the screenplay, thinking Javi would give them Maria's exact position. As Nick tries to include the kidnapping plotline into the screenplay, Javi perceives it as Nick feeling bad about his connection with Addie. The following morning, Nick gets a call from Vivian, who informs Nick to leave the house immediately as their phones are tapped, and their conversations are leaked. Nick prepares to leave, but he runs into Javi. It turns out Javi flew Olivia and Addie over to the island to reunite them with Nick. They are both terrified of what's happening and refuse to listen to Nick, believing this is simply another folly in his effort to restart his career. Later, Javi meets his cousin Lucas, who claims Nick is working for the CIA. He also admits that he kidnapped Maria on the instructions of gangster Sergio Belisari, the man Martin and Vivian were looking for. Lucas tells Javi that he must deal with Nick directly or else he will kill Javi. Vivian instructs Nick to kill Javi, so that the CIA can arrange for him and his family to be securely extracted. Nick then tells Olivia that he is working with the CIA, but she thinks he is having a nervous breakdown. Nick and Javi drive together onto the cliff for a final confrontation. When Javi points a gun at him, Nick pulls the two golden guns he took from the statue. When Nick calls him the crime lord, Javi reveals that Lucas is the real boss, forcing Javi to be a figurehead. Javi reveals Lucas is the reason he can't be with Gabriella because if Lucas knew Javi loves her, he would put a target on her back. Nick realizes Javi is innocent, and they become so close that not one of them can bear the thought of killing the other. Lucas dispatches his men to pursue them, forcing Nick and Javi to fight back. As they come home, Olivia informs Nick that Addie has been kidnapped. Gabriella and Olivia join them as Nick calls Vivian, who tells him that they are using Addie to get the US to back off their support of President Delgado. Vivian tells him to come to her location, but we learn that Lucas's men are holding Vivian at gunpoint after killing Martin. As Nick and the rest arrive at the location, Lucas's men prepare to kill them, but Vivian shoots the guards before taking a fatal bullet wound herself. Javi reveals where Lucas is holding the girls. Nick decides to use Olivia's expertise to disguise himself as Sergio Belisari to meet Lucas, as no one has seen Sergio in decades. Olivia and Nick arrive at Lucas's estate, and he lets them in. Nick and Olivia head to the basement to find the girls, but they are caught by a guard, and he takes them to Lucas, and they find the girls blindfolded. While having a conversation, Lucas notices the Nick's mask coming off, and Nick immediately pulls out a gun and holds Lucas at gunpoint, giving enough time for Olivia to take the girls away. Javi realizes Nick won't make it alive. Meanwhile, Nick takes on a few guards before Javi shows up to help him. They head to the US Embassy, but Lucas is chasing after them. Javi jumps out to face Lucas and slow them down, and Gabriella decides to be with him. They shoot at Lucas's men and take down a car before Javi takes a bullet. Nick crashes into the US Embassy. But Lucas is still after them and holds Nick at gunpoint before taking him out in an attempt to kill him. Maria discovers a concealed knife and passes it to Addie, and she throws it to Nick, who stabs Lucas in the chest with it. The scene shifts to Javi's film, with Nick playing the lead and Demi Moore as Olivia. Javi created the movie based on all the incidents that happened to them. The film is a smash hit, getting Nick back on track. He runs into Javi after the movie, and they both show pride in the film and hug. Later, Nick returns home with Olivia and Addie, where the family reunites, and he enjoys Paddington 2 with Addie. Their bond is now stronger than ever. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe, and turn on notifications to watch more videos like this.